Right, welcome back to the show that is about to do a LeBron versus Jordan debate. A show that's driving a very frisky Orlando Magic bandwagon. A show that would have made 34 not out against the Netherlands, Jev. A show that has actually reached out to Joel Smith. A show that has the strongest culture in the last 40 years. A show that may have got a very sneaky DM from Kane Corns.
Oh, yes.
Welcome to the 100K podcast, brought to you by the 100K store. Everything AFL, NFL, and NBA vintage. Let's have a look at what we got. I got the Chicago Bears. Jev's got the Panthers and the Cowboys looking unbelievable. You can purchase all these right now on the 100K store. Jev, welcome back. How are you, my good man?
What an intro, Das. Thanks for having me. Das, I blew a speaker in my car today.
Oh, no.
He was a motivational speaker, but nonetheless. Lewis, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm enjoying my motivational speaking career. I'm up and about dope. The Thunder are 2-1. Seattle are 6-2. The sneaky DM from Kane Corns got me even more up and about.
Did it ever?
3 weeks out from the AFL draft, which I'm absolutely up and about. We're going to get the Brownlow Shark on in the next couple of weeks because he's all things Brownlow and all things draft. So I've labelled it Das. It's called In the Grill from now on.
Let's go.
I've got two for you. Das. Is Harley Reid the most hyped number one draft pick since 2000?
Now, this is a pretty loaded question, but before I give my actual answer, I'm going to give you some of the contenders rolling out from 2000.
Yeah.
All right, in 2003, we had Adam Cooney, guys, from South Australia, a very flashy player, and still to this day, the only number one draft pick to ever win a Brownlow.
Wow.
In 2004, we had Brett Deledio. They obviously made a massive point over him choosing footy over cricket, so he was a massive one then. In 2006, what was known as the Bryce Gibbs Cup, in the last game of the year, we had Essendon and Carlton. Ended up in a draw. So then they had to go to see where the other games were. Earlier in that year, Bryce Gibbs had a 37-6 game for Glenelg as a 17-year-old.
Playing senior footy.
Wow. It came third in the best and fairest in that season as well before getting drafted. And then most recently in 2019, we can have a look at Matt Rao. Pretty much from that whole season, we really heard about it. And he was averaging 32 and 9 tackles in the NAB League for that whole season. But this year's number one pick is by far the most hyped player in AFL history. Now, especially with the social media and the guys at Baseline who do a fantastic job.
Unreal, the boys.
And I believe most people would have come out and said last year, if Harley Reid could have nominated for the number one draft pick, he actually would have been taken last year as well. This kid is the full package, can play all three phases. He started off as a halfback, then went to the midfield. This year was actually a little bit injured, so he played forward.
Yeah, right.
And guess what? He was named the under-18 NAB All-Australian full forward. This kid can do everything. I think if you are West Coast, you take him. I think he's going to be a generational player. If you are North Melbourne, you get all your chips, put him into the middle of the table, and you trade up to get this player. This kid is the real deal. The real deal, ladies and gentlemen.
That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
So
In the grill.
If you were North Melbourne, would you trade pick 2 and 3 for number one?
I reckon whether you can get some other ones back, but I think you want this kid. They've got so many draft picks, especially because they're being handed all these ones for compensation ones. I think they got 9 first-rounders over the next 3 years. I think you do whatever you can to get this kid to stay at your club, and especially in Victoria. I reckon Harley Reid is the player that you want on this draft board.
Oh, my God, I love that.
Incredible.
Especially, he's probably the first to sort of be compared to Dusty, because Dusty wasn't Dusty till he won 3 Norm Smith, 3 premierships, and now he's got a comparison. He's the first to be compared to Dusty. That is unbelievable. That excites me now for the draft, where he goes, if a move's made. Like, that is unreal.
There's only, and I went through all of them as well, the only 2 players from since 2000 that have won a flag. You had Luke Hodge that's won 3.
4.
And the only other one's Tom Boyd. You've had so many other good players, but yeah, that's unbelievable going through that list. But you'd have to say Harley Reid he's the real deal.
You talk about hype number ones. I went to trade school with a bloke that went to school with Matty Rao, and apparently his pencil case was a footy. He just literally, the teachers knew, he knew. That's not even a joke. In the grill, what a segment. I love that we've just straight into it, Das. And one for you, Jev, as well. Nick Daicos, does he deserve to wear the crown as AFL's best player going into season 2024?
Just for now, I'd probably say no. I still think that the players like Bont and Toby Green, Nick Daicos is a good player in a very good side, while those 2 players pretty much lead their side. And I think to wear the crown, you have to be the head leader. That is just the way that I see it. Look, he definitely could by the end of this season, but for now, I'm going to say no.
I think he does. I think he goes into next season the number one. Like, he was the one holding the Premiership Cup up at the end of the year. He's the the premiership player. Probably should have won the Brownlow, got injured at the end of the year. I think he does go into next year as the number one pick. Now, gun to my head, would I have him as the best player in the comp? No, I still think there's a couple better. I still think Bont's probably better. But I think he goes into next year wearing the crown as the best player in the league. Morgs.
Yeah, I rate that. I think you got to be the man. You got to beat the man. The bookies sort of agree with you. So you teased this last week, Das, the way too early Brownlow odds. Now, we'll talk about more of this as the year goes on, but the odds are out. So, Jeff, the bookies agree with you. Nick Daicos is the favourite at $5, Bont at $10, Sam Walsh at $12, Errol Goulden at $13, Lockie Neal at $13, and Christian Petrarca at $15. Boys, did the bookies get it right?
100%. Nick Daicos, obviously in that side. We said earlier in the year, he's set up to play in that role. He could win 3 or 4 Brownlows. We were pretty much banking on he was going to win one last year. But the way that he doesn't have to defend and he has pieces around him, he can just go. We know Bont probably should have 2. So I feel those two, 1 and 2, and they get votes. And how is that with Sam Walsh? The bookies know he's a great gut running player. He obviously didn't have a preseason last year. Pretty much had a torn back. Came in and he won the Gary Ayres medal. He's an unbelievable player. And Jev, you can take off the list after this, but Errol Goulden, what a player.
Oh, that is nuts.
I can't believe Errol is the 4th favourite to win the Brownlow medal. Like, that excites me. I just can't help to think next year is Bont's year. Like, realistically, he should have 2 Brownlows. His last 3 years have been out of this world. From the 2021 grand final loss, that year he should have won it when Ollie Wines won it. Got a bit injured the start of last year, and then this year was just out of this world. He's won the MVP last year, but I think the best bet on that board, and you didn't get to him, is Tom Green.
Oh, I thought you were going to say someone else.
Tom Green at 18-1.
18.
I reckon there's an argument to be made that he's the best player in the comp, Das. He finished the home and away season averaging 36 touches and a goal his last 3 games of the year. He had 35, 29, 31 and 1 in his 3 finals. His prelim against the Pies was out of this world. He turns 23 next year.
He's massive.
Yep.
I actually reckon this time next year he might be the Brownlow medalist wearing the crown as the number 1 player in the comp. I can only see upside to him. I don't reckon he's anywhere near his ceiling. I reckon he's about to hit Bontempelli. Like, he's got a bit more arrogance. You've seen his interviews with Tommy Sheridan and stuff. Like, he's got the swagger about him. He rates himself. He has that self-belief that he is the best player in the comp already. And, like, does he just even go past Bont and win a Brownlow before him? As like he's seen how he did it, now he's going to do it his own way.
How do you think though that Bont feels? So when you look at like your career, like whether this takes it eats you up, but technically he had a Norm Smith wrapped up.
Yeah,
doesn't have that on the resume, and technically another 2 Brownlow medals. So whether he's coming out to these games and like they might be losing, and he's just like, fuck, like I've got to work so much harder to get this. Imagine maybe the confidence you may have had coming into next season. He's like, look, we've got a pretty good list. I'm a 2-time Brownlow medalist and a Norm Smith medalist. Like it's that, like whether that, like, you know, when Dusty got to that 3rd grand final, he's like, it just, the confidence shows in those big players. True. Can you imagine those 3 other medals on his neck, how much better of a play he potentially would go out there and play the game?
Even 2016, I've never rewatched that game, and I know Johannes had won. Tom Boyd had the game of his life. Josh Kennedy had a good day, but
Josh Kennedy was incredible.
Even Bontempelli that day, like, could nearly have had an argument at the end of the game. Like, he's that fucking good. He could easily be a 2-time Brownlow medalist, 2-time premiership player, but he has none. He has the MVPs and he has the All-Australians and stuff, but
I just can't help but look at when we spoke to Kingy Das at the Gabba, he talked about futures bets. We do not have enough futures bets, and we got so much time to talk about it. We're literally just waiting for footy start in March. But $10. So on Brownlow night, if you watch the live YouTube, we had so many bets where round 15 a bloke would go out to 15. By round 18 he was into 7. So I mean, tell me $10. Tell me Marcus Bontempelli won't be shorter than $10 during the year, Das. Tell me Tom Green, what was he? 18. 18. He comes into 9. So there's so many futures bet out there that we can get the cash outs in round 9, 10, 11. So we need to look at some futures bets later on in the year, I reckon.
This is the one you were saying last week. Like, bet Bont now. If you want to have $30 on Bont, have 10, 10 and 10. So when he gets, like, going into the last round of last year, remember he got to $1.80 and Daicos went out to like $3.
Yeah.
If he goes into $1.80 from $10, your cash out from $10 to $100 would be at like $85 you could probably get out of it.
But the best thing is if you do put it on 3 times, you might take a cash out earlier in the year, and you might keep one for Brownlow night or like 1 or 2 that you can have that rolling, which is a
and I just find it unbelievable that Bont's at 10.
Yeah, you can still hear, but it's got that.
Yeah, it's a
I just find it unbelievable. The Bont's at 10 and Daicos is at 5. So he's half the field of everyone. That's how confident they are in the Brownlow. It just seems, whether you think Daicos is the best player in the comp or we all know he's a gun, but it just seems way too much of a favourite in front of everyone else. He's not that much better than everyone else.
And in a premiership side.
Yeah.
I think the bookies know, though, that if they put anything else, they're going to be taking some...
If it goes to 8-1.
Guys are going to be putting a big swipe on it. Now, boys, let's get into the NFL multi for last week. 12 out of 25 legs at 85%, 21% off a dinner for 2, which would be 69%. Let's get into it. So the good legs and stiff legs. Morgs, let's start off with some good legs.
It should be said, Das, 48% we went at, 21% off dinner for 2. What'd you say, good legs or stiff legs?
Good legs.
Good legs. Travis Etienne, he's in some serious form. He's pretty much a top 5 running back in the NFL right now.
Top 3.
Top 3. I had him
2
anytime.
beyond McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'll pay it. Anytime touchdown I had him for, and I had his over rushing line. It was 67.5. He had 79 a tud.
Great bet.
Chris Olave for 40. He had 46. That was all.
That's it. My good legs. Oh, geez, they're short here. Tony Pollard for 40 and Tyreek Hill's over. Quickly touch on Tyreek. Has to be having one of the greatest seasons of all time as a receiver.
Yep.
Obviously, the first player within 8 games to get over 1,000 yards in the Super Bowl era, which is over the last 54 years, I believe. That is unbelievable. What a player. What a man.
Yeah, he's MVP for mine. He's MVP
You've
for
said
mine. All right, well, like I heard today, if a quarterback isn't head and shoulders above the league, like let's start looking elsewhere, and it's him. Yep. And we also heard today, if you were an opposition player about to play Miami, would you rather Tyreek off the field or Tua off the field? You take Tyreek out
100%.
every day of the week.
Yep.
He is dominating.
Yep, definitely.
So, good legs for me.
Yep.
Miami head-to-head. Raheem Mostert anytime. Tua 250. I had Baltimore to win. I had Detroit to win. And I had Jared Goff for 250. Stiff legs, Lou. What did you have?
Yeah, there's some good legs, Jevy. Drake London over 56.5. He had 55 yards. It doesn't get much stiffer than that. I had Zay Flowers over 58.5. I've been on him all year. He had 7 targets and only had 19 yards. I don't know what the heck happened there. And then Trav Kelce had him for 60 yards. He had 6 catches. There was no Taylor Swift in Denver. 58 yards. So they're genuine stiff legs.
They are so stiff.
I had the Colts plus 8.5. I thought there is no way Derek Carr should be favourite on the road against anyone, but they just handled the Colts. Colts are the only team all year that scored 20 plus in every game, and they did it again. They just conceded 35. So
wow.
Good defense,
there's an over bet for the future.
Yep,
Colts
definitely.
score every week, just the other team scores even more. CJ Stroud 200, the Rook. They're finally getting some tape on him. He might be slowing down. That was on me. That leg's out. And Josh Reynolds, 25, my man, was my favourite leg last week. It was unbelievable, and he just didn't have that good of a game today. So, yeah.
The form was there.
You, Das? Do you have any stiff legs?
This must have been the the Halloween multi, because I had so many. Puka Nacua, 50 yards. He's been getting like 100 every week. Cooper Kupp, 50 yards. Tony Pollard hasn't scored since week 1. It was $1.54. We're like, you're hot or you due. Tony Pollard didn't get near it.
Still due.
Now, this one's unbelievable. So this same game multi would have paid 4-1. I would put this same one on tomorrow. Kansas money line over the Broncos. Mahomes over 273.5 passing yards. Mahomes 2 touchdowns, and then Kelce to get one of them. None of them hit.
Das, can you promise Tony Pollard won't be in the multi next week until he scores?
I will.
have to have him?
I promise he will never be in again
Until he scores. Once he scores, you can have him again. Just give him 1 week off, please.
He's so due.
Now, talking about some more bets, boys. This is the most lucrative segment in all of sport. Gold Rush. So this is where we look at some of the best bets from last week. So we obviously didn't get on these, because if we did, we wouldn't be here. We might be on a yacht somewhere. But
correct.
We screenshot the markets. Let's get into a couple of what were the best bets to bet on. Morgs.
The best bets that we weren't on but wish we were, Das. It's a common trend here. All Raven roads lead to gold, my friend. Gus Edwards, the running back for the Ravens, with J.K. Dobbins on the sideline, had an absolute day and a half. The Ravens just did the business on the cards, 31-24. Arizona got the backdoor cover. Gus the Bus Edwards, though, he had 19 carries for 80 yards. His line was $1.90 line was 57.5.
Over.
The gold was 3 touchdowns, though, he held in the day. $23, my friends. David King would have loved it. He's averaging 16 carries in the last 3 weeks, so he's clearly the number 1 back, and he definitely has to be in the 100K next week. $23.
It's funny you say that. So he had 3 touchdowns. I don't know if you saw in the Discord. I had a feeling about Odell Beckham, and he was 500-1 for 3 touchdowns. I'm like,
500.
I just reckon just have $2 on it, like $2 on him. And he didn't have a catch. He had
Not one catch.
Couple of times, no catches, no yards. They reckon it's a abomination when they try and throw to him. Like, it's a weak point in their side. But Gus had the 3, so he had OBJ's.
Gus.
I got Miami Dust.
Okay.
The odds aren't amazing, but Miami at home are an absolute cash cow. So I said before, Tyreek Hill is probably my MVP league. He had another 112 and a tud. He's averaging 150 and a touchdown at home in his 4 games at home. He's easily top 3 of the league MVP at the moment. As I said, he paid $2.40 for 110 and $1.81 for a touchdown. Raheem Mostert has scored 9 touchdowns in 4 home games. So he was $1.76. He just kept it rolling.
He's this year's
cash.
Jamal Williams.
Yeah, it's a great shout.
100%. And Tua had another 324 and 3 TTs. He was $3.10 for 3 touchdowns, $2.75 for 300. He's averaging $2.50 at home. Every time he plays at home, he gets over $2.50. So if you had the multi, and this isn't like this happens every time they play in Miami
for sure.
2 or 300.
Yep.
2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
Tyreek 100 and a touchdown.
Yep.
Mostert touchdown.
Yep.
64-1.
Jesus Christ. Have this week.
That when they play at home, that hits every time. If you take I know he had one game at 252. If you take 2 at a 250, make it 2 touchdown. Tyreek has 100 every time he's at home. He has a touchdown. Mostert has a touchdown.
How many more home games for the rest of the year? You put $10
They've only played 4,
that.
so they
put $10 on that every week.
Yeah, look out for this.
It's going to be close.
That is an unbelievable
9 touchdowns in 4 home games from Mostert.
Hopefully they can keep it up. Boys, Brock Purdy and the Niners fall to Joey Posada and the Big Cock Bengals. Look, they've actually lost 3 in a row and actually 4 behind the Seahawks, the Sea Chickens in the NFC West. Morgs, you must be feeling very good about that. Look, there was obviously some junk time yards involved, but Brock Purdy had 325 yards at 10-1.
That's nice.
Which is really nice. And then also 3 touchdowns at 550. The MVP chatter for him is definitely gone to bed. But I still think he may feature in this week's 100K multi on the back of this because we do love some good cash and some good multi. So that is this week's segment of Gold Rush. Now, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, are they back?
Absolutely, they're back to us. Joe finally looks fit and healthy from his calf injury. Jamar Chase looks close to unguardable, and Joe Mixon is finally running the ball.
Yep.
They're back to their objects. Das, you want to know who Joe Burrow and the Bengals are?
Who?
Toby Green and the GWS Giants.
Okay.
Colours.
Both leaders, like Joe and Toby, walk around with a serious swagger about them. Both are arguably the best players in their sport at their best.
Yep.
Yes.
Both have an underrated team of dogs around them.
Yes.
I like it.
Both have started slow, but are going to come home like a wet sail. The Giants made the prelim final. Can Burrow and the Bengals go back to the AFC Championship game for the 3rd straight year?
I love this.
Can you see the comparisons of Toby Green and the Giants and Joe Burrow and the Bengals? The way their season started, I just see it.
Yep,
And
the
swagger you know about Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, Joe Brrr, how cool he is. And you look at Toby Green, he walks with the chest out. He thinks he's the best. He knows he's the best. He plays like he's the best. I just say maybe it's because they both wear orange, but it just makes me think they're going back to the AFC Championship game. Even if they finish 7th, like they're the wild card spot and the Ravens win the division, I can just still see him making it there. It's how they do it every year. He's back. His calf's healthy. And, here they come.
The American media is just saying that the usual thing that they just don't play well in September, and they talk about how Brady and Belichick were never good in September. I still think we probably need to see that one more time for that to actually be a thing, but there's no doubt they look like a completely different team. Joe looks he's gone from unhealthy to healthy in 2 weeks and 1 bye, so you could be right, Jeff.
And when you go to San Francisco and you beat them head to head, you just
Standalone game.
Now week to week, they're just one of the most dangerous teams in the conference. It's like trying to beat Kansas City any given week. That's what it's like trying to beat the Bengals in the regular season after their bye. They do it every year. They won 12 in a row after their bye last year.
Yep.
They could do it again this year.
And they're proving that their defense is definitely underrated. Was underrated before the season, and it's a genuine defense.
It's just a bunch of dogs out there.
Just a bunch of dogs being pups and dudes being guys.
Can we actually get a little bit more of the AFL comparison? Because I genuinely love that. And I think the audience, if you're not big into the NFL, that actually paints a very, very nice picture.
If you want to try and figure out what NFL team you want to follow, you want to look at, whatever, I've got an AFL comparison for all of them.
That's great. All right, boys, let's get into a little bit of the NBA and let's check in on last week's bold predictions. Yes, we're already checking in and it's only been a week. Morgs, you said the Mavs won't make the playoffs for the 2nd straight season. Luka had 35 today. Absolutely handled the Grizzlies. How do you feel about the Mavs playoff hopes?
They are 3-0, and believe it or not, I feel really, really good. So I said it last week. By no means am I rooting against Luka. And I did preface that. I got a little bit carried away.
You are.
No, I said that the Spurs were as good as the Mavs. Now, that was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But I want Luka to get there. I just don't think they've got the team around him to get there. I don't know if you can ever get the team around him because of the way he plays. He's a bit like James Harden. You sort of get to the conference finals and then it does that style of basketball work, but I just don't think that he's playing some unbelievable basketball. So they've beaten the Nets, the Grizzlies, and the Spurs, and it's literally taken his best basketball. He's literally jumped into his best basketball. Kyrie hasn't hit his stride yet, but I do fear that if Kyrie does hit his stride, it takes away from Luka's best ball. So then that's when you start opening up the doors. They only beat the Spurs by 3 points the other day, so Wemby didn't really find his feet. But I just think, if Kyrie takes away from Luka a little bit, you just never know. 3-0 could quickly become 3-4.
The Spurs are cheeks, aren't they?
They probably don't play enough defense to complement Luka's dominance right now.
Well, they traded their defense away to get Kyrie.
Yeah, and But to be fair, Luka's line was 34.5 today.
Yep.
Going into the game, 34.5. I'm like, geez, that's a lot for this early in the season.
And that's like $1.90 leg for anyone,
$1.90
like
leg.
over under.
Yep.
And he got 35, like he hit the over. Steph's going in today was 33.5. He had 42.
And
they are high lines.
And you've got a big one as well.
Yeah. What's this? No, but anyway, my bold prediction.
No,
Jason Tatum.
That's what I thought you had it there.
Jimmy Tatum.
His line was 22.5 today. In the finals, like all through the playoffs last year, it was 30.5 going in every game, and it's usually Jaylen Brown around the 23.5. I had a look today, and it was 22.5. I put it down 1 point to 21.5 at $1.70, and he had 32 or something.
It's easy money.
Absolute golden.
Another one today was Jordan Poole. His line was 22.5. They played a good defense. Jordan Puddle he only had 11 points to us. So you need to bet that for some reason everyone was saying that he could win the scoring title, all this stuff. No, he could not.
Blokes is really good at finding unders, and blokes are just shit house that get pumped up.
Another one is the Suns for the under. They don't shoot threes. They got no three. Who shoots threes for the Suns? KD doesn't like the threes. Book has been playing. Beal's got a sore back. Like Sam Walsh, his back's torn.
Get in the
apparently.
paint.
So yeah, Suns unders. Jordan Puddle unders against good defense.
I like it. Now, Jeff, you're driving the Sacramento Kings bandwagon. You said De'Aaron Fox is pretty much your dark horse MVP. Riding shotgun for them. He's unbelievable. He had 37 points yesterday in a win over the Lakers. Jeff, are you still high on this take?
Yeah, well, the Kings are 2-1. The only loss, he had 39 points and went toe-to-toe with Steph in an overtime loss. He handled the Lakers in overtime and had another 37 points. I've wagered him for 36-1. I reckon it's a great bet, and it's only going to go down. I'm all in on the Kings and De'Aaron Fox. I reckon he's a fucking guy.
Yeah,
he's an absolute guy. And it's like, we still love LeBron and we love these guys, but they are getting that little bit older. Like, he's in his prime. Lefty. Just no one watches the Kings, and I don't blame you. Like,
if he was in any other market, he'd be unbelievable. We were in America for the first time when March Madness was on, and you had the big Kentucky versus UCLA game, and it was him versus Lonzo, and he put Lonzo to bed.
Yeah, he is a fucking good player. So I am all in on De'Aaron Fox and the Kings. Check in with me every week on how they're going, because I know no one will see it because no one watches the Kings.
Yeah, correct. Or this show. Nothing looks as good as your take.
Oh, I'm telling you what, I'm still feeling extremely good about my selections. The Magic are currently 2-1, only just losing to the Lakers today by 3 points. We absolutely smoked the Rockets and the Blazers. It's been a nice little... Yeah. The Magic. It's been a nice little West Coast trip, Jeff. We've come through. My guy, Franz Wagner, has been extremely impressive. He had 19, 23, and 16 tonight. My guy looks to be an All-NBA 10th team sort of player. Absolutely love the way Franz is. And didn't realise he had a brother on the team whose name is...
Moritz.
Moritz and Franz Wagner. I love him. Small forward.
Isaac's been huge.
Isaac, yeah.
He did say he needs honest credit.
So... Let's make sure we get on. And Ben Chero should be shooting more because he only had 9 points today. So I want more out of my number 5.
That's good fair.
What else is happening? The Nuggets are just in the Western Conference Finals. They're 4-0.
It really does look like Nuggets Celtics. You said Nuggets Celtics, didn't you?
No, I said Bucks Nuggets.
Yourself?
You said Nuggets Celtics.
Magic
Nuggets.
Magic.
That's what I had on my own.
Next week we'll get into some good players because we're having a really good flutter at the moment.
The Sharks are gun NBA in.
He loves his NBA.
But the Celtics are as good as advertised.
Fade Jordan Poole.
And the Simpsons predicted it again.
What'd they predict?
Tatum and Fury.
Tatum and
Well
Fury.
done.
That was unbelievable.
And Fury.
Hey, it was a good punchy little show.
Hey, that was nice. Absolutely love that.
I wouldn't draft Nick Watson. Anything else?
I'm a motivational speaker.
That's good.
I wouldn't draft the smallest player in the draft league.
So we're really going to go hard on Miami at home, and we're also going to go hard on Magic.
Magic mushrooms or Magic Orlando?
Magic everything. Harley Reid. Unbelievable. What a player. What a
Tom
pick.
Green, 18.
What a man.
Get on him now.
Hey, make sure you get this in the 100K store.
Yeah, go to the 100K
Looking
store.
good, looking fresh.
This Carolina Panthers one is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Get your Panthers one.
If you want that one, it'll smell a little bit like Jev, so.
That will stink.
Chili! Baby back ribs.
Ribs.